Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. Nigel Farage was just on LBC with Nick Ferrari pissing me off. Mainly because the level of hypocrisy that we are reaching now when it comes to racism, the safety of women and girls, and politics in general is well past the level of satire.
But the multicultural idea that was pushed and encouraged was not that we all work together as one block, with common shared interests and goals. It was no, you have your own community and you stick to your customs and your traditions.
So he's saying the problems the UK has when it comes to racial and cultural harmony is because cultures from other countries live in their own little communities, separate from the rest of us. This from the same guy who complains about Eastern Europeans even living in the same neighbourhood as him.
And what about the line about not wanting to live next door to Romanians? It's perfectly acceptable for people
I didn't say
not
that.
to
I was
want
asked if a group of Romanian men moved in next door to you, would you be concerned?
What about if a group of German children did? What's the difference?
The difference, and you know what the difference
No,
is.
I honestly don't.
This from somebody who doesn't want people who speak other languages even on the same trains as him.
Point that I got on a train and went for several stops, and there were a lot of people around me and no one spoke English. And I thought, this is...
You said I don't feel very comfortable in that situation. You did say you had a problem.
I didn't feel comfortable, no.
Yes.
And when it comes to people from minorities not living in the same places as the majority, often we don't get a choice. Generation Rent, the housing charity, did some research, and they found that when you're applying for a place to rent, having a black name makes it 36% less likely that you'll receive a positive response from the landlord. Fixing this problem would require political leadership that focuses on improving people's general attitudes towards ethnic minority people, which is what Nigel Farage is now claiming he's all about.
We should be encouraging a sense of togetherness.
Which is funny because literally the next second he then says...
And I think that what the grooming scandal shows is we have had open door, unrestricted immigration to, in this case, Pakistan, where people come into a country, there's no assimilation at all, and they bring with them a culture and a belief. It's not the whole community, but it's too many of them. That is frankly...
It's not the majority of them, is it?
No. I'm making that very clear.
Right.
But it's too many.
Okay.
And a culture that degrades women.
Where do we even start with that? For starters, the idea that it is Pakistani people who are bringing the concept of misogyny and abuse of women to the UK, when the Office of National Statistics shows that it is white people that make up the vast majority of sexual crimes against women and girls. So what he just said is nothing other than a xenophobic lie. And he is blaming the whole Grooming Gangs problem on Pakistani men, when the Home Office's official figures show that it is most commonly white men. And again, he knows this. It's his job to know this. He is an elected member of parliament. He is choosing to lie to you to stir up racism. And there's also a lot in this next bit, which is the bit that really pisses me off.
A culture that degrades women, that looks down upon white people, that thinks these girls are trash. And do you know what? We've done this to ourselves.
Let's get the most obvious hypocrisy out of the way first. Nigel Farage and the Reform Party have spent the last few days saying that the authorities didn't take seriously enough the complaints made about sex-based violence against women and girls committed by Asian men because of the politics of the situation. He's basically accusing the rest of the country, especially the left, of prioritizing politics over the safety of women and girls. But you do remember what happened just 1 month ago when Nigel Farage was asked about one of his MPs who beat up his girlfriend and was sent to jail for it.
We're going to put in place the most vigorous vetting system in place now. Do you think James Murdoch would not go through this new
You can have
system?
you can have your fun at Sky News. We've got 100,000 members. I've got 1 million followers on TikTok. Dame Andrea Jenkins has just joined us. She's our candidate for Greater Lincolnshire. You've had your fun. I'm off for lunch. Thank you.
That is him literally saying that his political agenda, as well as his follower account and lunch apparently, is more important than a teenage girl being beaten up. But that's just the obvious hypocrisy. Here's the thing that really pisses me off. When it comes to those girls whose complaints were ignored in towns like Rotherham and Rochdale, one of the major factors was the sexist belief that those women shouldn't be believed, that they're just working class, they're women. It's the whole believe women argument. It was the lack of recognition that for a woman or a girl to come forward with the complaint of sexual misconduct, it costs her something. She knows that if she comes forward with a complaint like that, then her personal life is going to be torn apart by the police, by the courts, by the jury, by the public potentially. Which is why even if you completely forget morality, if a woman or a girl is willing to put themselves in the firing line like that to come forward with a complaint, you should assume that on the balance of probability, it probably happened. I'm not saying conclusively, but at the very least it should be taken goddamn seriously. And that is the message that women and their allies have been pushing for a very long time. But it is men like Nigel Farage and their associates who have been damaging that message. Because since when has political correctness ever been on the side of ignoring women's complaints of sexual misconduct? So when Nigel Farage talks about
a culture that degrades women.
What do you think it does to women to see somebody who was jailed for repeatedly kicking a teenage girl as she lay on the ground in Parliament writing our laws? And for the head of a major political party, when asked about this, to say,
I'm off for lunch.
Is that not degrading to women?
That looks down upon white people.
Yeah, because that's the racism at play here. Not you lying about Pakistani men, no.
That thinks these girls are trash.
Direct quote from your mate Tate, I can't fuck with these hoes because these bitches is trash. Nigel Farage promotes white men who explicitly degrade women, but still blames misogyny on brown people. And as a final thing, Ben Habib came up in this interview, the former deputy head of the Reform Party.
How much of a loss to the party is Ben Habib? This is, of course, your deputy leader, who I think stood down in November, is that correct?
None whatsoever.
Why was he ever deputy leader then?
Don't ask me.
They make it so obvious that they simply use ethnic minority people as get out of racism free cards. Because this was Nigel Farage praising Ben Habib a few years ago. This was the current chair of the Reform Party, Richard Tice, just a few months ago, pointing to Ben Habib as deputy leader as proof that his party can't be racist. And this is Richard Tice posting videos of Ben Habib using his ethnic minority status to attack anti-racism policies.
Promotion of minority rights, specifically, as far as I'm concerned, ethnic minorities. And I say this as an ethnic minority. I don't want to be told that I need a leg up in order to get on in life.
And now that they're done using Ben Habib, Nigel Farage is saying he has no idea why they ever hired him. He knows exactly why he hired him. And again, this isn't my phrase, but all tokens get spent. It's also important to note that Nick Ferrari did not push back at all on any of the racism you just heard from Nigel Farage. He invited him on that show to spew racism completely unchallenged. But the fact is, people like Nigel Farage do not give a crap about ethnic minority people, they don't give a crap about women and girls, but they claim to be allies of both. I'm Femi, make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.